This little clip just goes to show you that you really shouldn't underestimate the value of even a seemingly, meaningless little plant that you could just pluck, out of some of the craggy rocks at the beach. This is a hermit crab that we found at the beach in the craggy rocks, and he's eating something off of this plant that, on a whim, I just decided, all right, it's probably not going to grow in my tank because it's not going to be getting the type of sunlight that it probably needs to grow, but who knows? Might be beneficial in one way or another. And this little guy, he looks bigger in this video because I'm videoing this through a magnifying glass, as you can see, which helps to show more detail. And he's parked himself here for quite some time already. And these hermit crabs are interesting. They can be on the go, for days at a time, traversing the tank, taking a little nibble here, a little nibble there, and then they can sometimes just park themselves, also for days at a time, sometimes seemingly doing nothing, and sometimes kind of secretly doing this. Now, is he finding little creatures inside there? I don't know. I can tell you that somewhere in this tank is a regular crab that was totally by accident. I had no idea how on earth he got into this small little bucket of stuff that I picked up. I picked up a bunch of snails, one hermit crab, and a few of these little plants. I certainly wasn't intending on taking one of those crabs that I had seen at the beach. If they grow to their full size, can get at least that big. That's really big. I saw one of those, and I really didn't want those because, they grow. I'm guessing that they get that big, they're just going to eat everything in your tank. Although I really don't know. So yeah, you could wind up getting some really interesting stuff. Here is a slightly different angle. I actually took away the magnifying glass this time because the truth is that the video can pick it up kind of cool. And the reason why the hermit crab looks sideways is that he's actually on his side. He's not right side up. It's not that I'm holding the camera in a way that makes him look sideways. These things are incredible. They are tiny. They live in shells that I'm guessing must be at least 10 times their own weight, and they can pull themselves up at a 90-degree angle up a rock, which is just unreal. It's really unreal. I've always been fascinated with hermit crabs ever since I was a kid. I think there's something about the fact that they, live this kind of secretive life. Almost invites you to, it's like almost haunting you, like, hey, try to figure out what we're like and what we're about. So he's having a great time over there. So that right there is another little critter that I picked up in the crags at the beach. And as you can see, he seems to be big enough that the fish don't bother him, that shrimp. There were some baby ones that, I think I had about 3 baby ones that I also picked up. I saw one of them hiding out in a little crevice in a rock, but I don't see them anymore. Very likely that the fish ate them. It was a nice meal for them. But he also has this tendency that sometimes, as you can see now, he's really active all over the place, seemingly without any rhyme or reason, although every now and then he'll stop on a rock and, give it some feelers. And then at other times he'll just be totally still, for a long time. So what's up with that? Not really sure. Maybe he's more nocturnal because this is at least the second time that I've noticed that around nighttime, even though I've still got the lights on because I'm looking at it, that he's up and about, or she, I really have no idea. So yeah, some cool stuff that you can find just, in the crags and rocks. And from what I've read, both hermit crabs and shrimp and snails, picked up a bunch of snails also, they're really good at, cleaning up some of the stuff in your tank that you don't want just staying there. So that was why I really wanted to find them. So yeah, so this is great. So I guess the next time that you're at the beach, if you're at, a little craggy area where there's dips in the rocks, give a look if you've got a tank and you want to get some of these little guys. Where I live, it's really hard to get these from fish stores. So this was very helpful for me. Here is one of the snails that I picked up from the beach. So other than being helpful cleaners, I happen to be fascinated personally by the way their sucking motion works. When they're really on the move, they seem to just be gliding across the glass or even a rock. And when you really can get a close-up glimpse, which right now, because of the angle that he's turned, you can't, but when you can get a close-up glimpse of their facial expression, if you can call it that, I happen to feel like it has so much character to it. Besides the fact that whatever is on their shells is just fascinating. So, you know, like, I just happen to be fascinated by all the little critters that oftentimes go unnoticed. You know, like a lot of times when you're interested in doing a tank, an aquarium, we tend to focus on like the big, gorgeous, beautiful, eye-catching things. But sometimes we tend to miss the smaller things that can be really super interesting and also beautiful in a way. I mean, look at that shell. It's just gorgeous. You know, and I'm gonna pull this around over here for a second. This was, I'm not gonna use the word cannibalized, but this, I believe, was the shell. This might have been an empty shell when I got it. I think this hermit crab over here, even already in the bucket that they were in when I was bringing them home, for some reason attacked one of the snails and was continuing to eat him after I put them in the tank for like a solid day. And then the hermit crab that we had already had, which we playfully call Hermit in our family. So he was in this broken shell. Felt so bad for him. We bought these bigger shells, but he, you know, and he checked them out, but they were too big for him. And then it was like the coolest thing in the world. Like, I mean, it wasn't so nice to see the hermit crab like literally murderously eating the snail and then stealing his shell. I mean, it's like, imagine someone coming over to you, killing you, eating you, and then living in your house. I mean, that sounds really awful, but I guess that's the way the animal kingdom works, which, by the way, you know, like, people who just view humans as another form of animal, basically, I don't really understand how that cues together with, you know, the sense of morality and laws that we have. But whatever, that's a discussion for a different time, maybe a different video. But it was really cool because the old hermit crab that we had, which was a little bit smaller than this one, which I think is the new one. I don't think this is our old one. So he like lined up behind the new hermit crab, and they were lined up like that for like a solid day, like more than 24 hours. And then finally, I didn't get to see this, but my kids told me that they saw it. The new hermit crab was done working on the snail, had completely killed it, gotten rid of it, and transferred himself to that snail shell, which must have been a bit bigger. And then our old hermit crab transferred himself, or herself, or itself, whatever, to the shell left over by that murderous hermit crab, or whatever, voraciously hungry. Let's just call it that. Anyway, so, but, you know, like, look at this shell. Look at the polish. Look at the colors. I mean, like, this video doesn't even do it justice because, you know, for some reason the lighting doesn't really catch it. Maybe if I turn on the flash. Nah, it still doesn't catch it. Looks even better without it. You know, and it's just, there's so much beauty and I mean, look at that tiny little shell. It's really hard to see, but also gorgeous. You know, and if I pick this up, maybe you'll get a glimpse of this snail's eyes a little bit. Maybe if I move it over to here. Let's see if we can get a shot of that. Because they just have so much character. I mean, I know that sounds kind of funny to be talking about a snail like that, but seriously, like, if you have a snail, especially a marine snail, like a saltwater snail, give it a look. Like, just look at its eyes. It's just so interesting to look at. I'm gonna swing around the other side of the thing. This is a pretty small tank. I think it's, I don't even know exactly how much, like maybe 30 gallons, like maybe 20 gallons, I don't even know. But if you can, yeah, you look at, see those eye spots? I mean, tell me that is not full of character. I mean, again, maybe some people out there are thinking, okay, this guy is so weird. Like, he sees character in a snail, but what can I tell you? I find it like, it's just so interesting. And again, the video really doesn't do it justice. You gotta look at this up close for yourself to really get a sense of, you know, how much character. Can I get a close up over here? Is it gonna zoom in? Is it gonna focus? Yeah, kind of. Anyway, so yeah, I guess it's like about appreciating the finer things, and the colors are also pretty cool. So yeah, so like I said, if you're the adventurous type, or maybe you want to just have like one tank, which is for that adventure, just take a bucket of stuff from the beach, you know, assuming that it's okay to do that where you live, and just like see what happens, because really cool stuff can happen. At least that's the way I feel. One last thing that I wanted to show you, which is totally by accident how I got it. I don't know if you can actually see this in the video. Is a tiny little anemone. I'm going to try to put a magnifying glass in between the phone and the anemone. See if you can see it a little bit better. It's on that rock to the left. You know, that was something that I had no idea that I was picking up. Must have just been on one of the rocks that I picked up. Again, you can't really see it so clearly. I mean, now it's really blurry. Oh boy. totally lost focus over there. Sorry about that. Oh, it's coming in more. So if you can slightly see the tentacles right on the edge of that rock, the rock which is on the right side of the screen, and it's kind of like colorful a little bit, has some purple aspects to it. So right on the edge, oh, the shrimp came into view. That's pretty funny. So, and then there's another one over here, somewhere on this rock. Although now I don't see it. Oh yeah, it's to the right. It's really hard to pick up. It's kind of like on the top to the right. They were both on this rock before. Somehow the other one migrated all the way over there. I'm not sure how that happened. But yeah, so it's just like pick up some shells and rocks and, you know, other things at the beach. And if you're willing to be adventurous and put them in your saltwater tank. You know, I'm like a total novice at this, even though I have some experience when I was a kid. But, you know, if you've got like a super expensive tank and you've done tons of work, so yeah, I wouldn't suggest doing what I've done. But if you're interested in being like a little bit adventurous and seeing like, hey, what's going to happen if I, you know, take a bucket full of like rocks and, you know, shells and a little bit of plant life, like this thing over here, whatever that is, from the beach, and like seeing what happens. So, you know, there's interesting stuff that can happen.